You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, this is Richard Estep, ghostwriter, and from TV's Haunted Hospitals, Paranormal Investigators, Haunted Case Files, and Paranormal 911, and you are listening to PSH Radio on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. Well, I'm back because I had a few weeks off because I wasn't very well. It's me tonight because Carl's had other commitments, family commitments. But obviously I am joined by Chris.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Do you know what? I'm smashing today. I've had such a great day, so I'm really happy. And I'm looking forward to this as well, Sam. Been looking forward to it all week. So let's get going.
And the good thing is it isn't Friday.
Oh, my word, yeah. If it was Friday, you'd be catching me on the way down to Woodchester Mansion. So, but you've caught me here in the office today, so that's all good. That's all good.
Yeah. So obviously we're going to be talking a bit about where we were, because obviously we did the ghosts. Oh my God, I'm trying to say ghosts. Myths and Legends weekend with you guys. So
that's it, the Ghost Myths and Legends weekend. And what a weekend that was. That was awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I loved it. It's like, it was good that you put this event on because we were with like-minded people. And obviously we got to get to know you guys as an events company, and obviously the guests better because we spent a few days with them other than a few hours.
We did, yeah. You know what? There was a lot of things to cover, and there was also a lot of social time as well to take part in. It was absolutely fantastic. I loved every minute of it. And you know what, though? It's nice to actually get to know the guests a little bit better than what we usually do as an event company, because, you know, we usually get to spend about 4 hours, 5 hours with them. There's lots of people to spread our love around, if you know what I mean. And, you get to, you say goodbye, and then you don't really get much feedback after that. It's just like, they're gone. You just kind of hope they had a good time. But with regard to this event, with everyone, sleeping in the same house, you can get feedback like that. And it was... it turns out, that everyone's having a great time, and you get to see the human side to people as well, which you don't normally get to see sometimes on the events. So for me, I absolutely love that part of it.
Yeah, like I say, the same with me, because obviously I've been on a few of your events, and this was like I was really looking forward to it in a way, because this was my first event that I'd spent so many days with you guys.
I know, yeah. It's like you've been on so many, Sam, haven't you?
Yeah.
Me and you, for those who don't know, we literally live 5 minutes away from each other. We're both Stoke-on-Trent, Stoke-on-Trent. And so we get to go to quite a few places quite often, don't we? Not so much recently, but we used to go, most weekends, didn't we? But when we were a much smaller company, though, wasn't it that? Because it was like one or two a month, which was, affordable for most. But now, since we've exploded in size, it's not so easy for yourself, but we've always enjoyed working with yourself, haven't we? You and me.
Yeah.
Which
good. Is good. So going on to talking about your events company and that a little, how many actually team members do you have now?
Oh wow, team members. So just to go back in history a little bit. So when we started in 2014, we had 5 team members, which were all dedicated, and so we moved into 2015, we probably get to about 8 team members. Then as the years have already gone on, now it's 2019, we've got 28 team members covering 150 ghost hunts a year, which is a huge amount. It's so scary, really, but we enjoy doing it. I see a lot of the guys as well are in the chat room. So hello to all you guys, all my fantastic team, all volunteers as well. You know, they do it because they love it. You know, they're not paid staff. Yeah. So sometimes when they're paid, I like to think, you know, they're going to turn up just for the money. But these guys being volunteers, you know, they're there because they want to be there. They're there because it's a passion. And if it gets boring for them, they'll just disappear, you know, and go away. You know, so, and that's a good thing because then the right people are looking after our guests, I like to think of. So 28, and you're friends with quite a few of them, aren't you, now as well, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Becky, who's online, you've known Becky for about 5 years, something like that, haven't you? She used to be your ghost hunting buddy.
Yeah, she did.
And now she's with us, and she's one of our top team members. I mean, they're all great, but, you know, Beck, we call her the ghost magnet. You know, she's a fantastic team member. We love Becky. Hi, Becky.
Yeah, we kind of found a twin, didn't we, at the weekend as well, with Kelsey.
Oh, yeah. Kelsey, who I think is listening in as well, was one of our fantastic guests. Everyone was fantastic. Sorry, clap my hands there. But Kelsey, she reminded me of Becky quite a lot, all the Ghost Adventures passion that she's got. So, yeah, it was a really good weekend with a lot of fantastic people, which hopefully we get to go through in a moment. I don't know what questions you've got for me, but I think I'm ready. I'll do my best.
So, we moving on to the weekend. So, what did the entire weekend include?
What did it all include? Oh, it was all fun and fantasticness, wasn't it? So, so basically, in a nutshell, it was accommodation, which included some lectures and workshops with we had an in-house seance. We also did an excursion, a walking excursion to an old ancient pagan temple, which was a very well-documented area called Lud's Church. Now, Lud's Church appeared in a poem from 1400s, and perhaps some say it's the first written poem to do with the natural environment. So obviously there's a lot of legends that it's all to do with King Arthur, and Robin Hood's got an appearance in there as well. So it's a really magical location, which, as you agree, Sam, when you went to visit, that was a beautiful place to go.
Yeah, you lost my shoe.
You lost your shoe in the mud, yeah. We ordered that mud just for you. That was fab. And so we also went off-site and did an investigation at Ford Green Hall as well, which I didn't attend because, being the busy person I am, I had to come back to the house and do some weekend admin. But you were in good hands with some of my team, and so you can talk me through that one, I think. But you all had some great activity there, I heard, didn't you? And and apart from all that, there was lots of food. You know, you were catered for. We watched a couple of movies as well, didn't we? Just had a relaxing time. I don't think you got in the hot tub, though, did you?
No, I didn't have stuff to get. I didn't have appropriate clothing in my bag, so...
Yeah, that was my excuse as well. Still not lost with Christmas weight yet. That was my real excuse.
I'm sure you would have been fine.
Yeah, I just jumped in, wouldn't you, really? I was waiting till it went dark, but I'd end up being too busy. Maybe a little bit tipsy as well in the evening. So it is what it is, isn't it? And maybe next year, we're booked again next year, aren't we? So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Emma says in the chat room it was great food.
I know, I've got it open, so I'm glad Emma managed to get the comments working.
Yeah, I think they've gotten all pretty easily, which is good.
They have, yeah. Yes, yeah, so, I mean, regarding the weekend, though, it's like, what inspired me to do it really is I just wanted to do something a little bit different. And now, obviously, I haven't invented this. Other teams have done these kind of weekends before, but I put my mark on it and did it the way I did. I found a venue that no one has done before for this kind of event, and I thought that venue was really good and worked really well. So, so much so, obviously, we're doing it again there. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. The way I planned it, though, as well, it's not a case of sitting down at my desk and just, thinking, I kind of felt it. You know what I mean by that? Where I put myself in an imaginary world where I thought, right, the guests are going to come in and I want this to done, that to done. And I put into my imagination feelings that I wanted to achieve with the whole event. So then I put the plans in action to obviously generate those feelings with the guests. So, and I think it worked really well. We've had some fantastic feedback. So, we've had some bookings for next year as well. So it's almost half full again. So all the same people returning. So that itself is a great compliment, I think.
Yeah. And like you said, it was a good location because it wasn't too cramped.
No, it was.
So.
It was like 5-star, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we've done these events before where everyone's got to share a bathroom or everyone's on bunk beds. Well, this location, it was like a hotel, but it wasn't. If you know what I mean? It was like a private farmhouse, and all the rooms were nicely decorated. They all had the ensuite bathroom, so you all have to share the same toilet, which we've had experiences of previously at some other locations. It was just nice and relaxed. We weren't crowded in, like you said. It was the right amount of people for the space we had.
Yeah, and the same people who were in there.
Say again?
Sorry, my microphone keeps messing up. I said it was the same, and people all there for the same reasons as everybody else. Oh,
yeah, definitely. So everyone had different variants of experience. So some obviously, like Carl Hutchison was there. So obviously he has quite a lot of experience and a lot of things to share with people. Then we had other people. It was their first kind of event. Some had not even been ghost hunting before. But the common thing was everyone had an interest in it, and everyone wanted to learn from each other. There was no ego. Everyone just shared, didn't they? And and vegan cake, says Kelsey. Yes, we had vegan cake as well.
So, Ashley, the seance was like in a Victorian seance, wasn't it, Chris? It was in the big dining table.
Yeah, so we started off before we did the seance, we looked back in time towards the Fox sisters, and we looked at the history of the seance and how it's developed through time. Then we broke into 2 separate groups, didn't we? So we was 12 of us in total, so it was 2 groups of 6. So one group went into the kitchen where Janine, as a medium, led that seance. Now, Janine is fantastic. If she gets nothing, then she's not going to make it up. She'll just say, there's nothing coming through, guys. So I can't really comment on what happened in the seance because I was taking the groups where we were doing the human pendulum experiments. So again, something back to the Victorian era where in the old parlour games, and the parlour tricks they used to do, human pendulum was one of those. So for those who don't know, human pendulum is where we stand someone in the centre of a circle and we invite spirit to come and link in with their energies. And we get that person to either be pushed forwards or backwards. So say, for example, forwards is a yes, backwards is a no. Now, we also touch on as well the skeptical side of how all this works. So we touch on, obviously, that subjection can come into play. But also we like to think, what if? So we go with that as well. So we're under no illusion that it could be paranormal or, subjection. So we just gave them all a go at everything, really, all part of the experience. But the seance itself, Sam, you took part in the seance, whereas I was in the living room doing the human pendulum all night. So how did you find the seance?
We didn't really get anything in the seance, but obviously I know the other group did. But basically, what it was set up, obviously, with your candles in the middle of the table.
Yeah, so you had your 3 candles, or divisible by 3. So we had the 3 candles. Yeah. We had a food offering, which we had apples, and we had I wanted a goblet of water, but not a goblet to hand, so I think it was a little glass of water, just as an offering, wasn't it? Yeah. And I know you were calling spirit through to come towards the light to enter our world, and so we were after communication, weren't we? But yeah. I don't think anything came through on that one.
No, I don't. I think obviously Janine picked up on a female with the other group, but I'm sure that's what she said. But I'm unsure. I'm not going to say she did in case I'm unsure, so I don't want to get things wrong. So.
And that's it. It was just such a fun-filled weekend that we didn't really. I mean, I didn't really get a chance to ask questions about what other groups got and such. It was just it was quite difficult to do because as soon as I finished one task, I was on to the next one, usually cooking or something like that, or looking after others. So Ingrid's online. She's saying yes, she did, Sam. So that's
Thanks,
great.
Ingrid.
That's awesome. So yeah, so with the pendulum though, I can't remember exactly what it was, but both groups reported the very same thing. So I was thinking about this today, and do you know when you do so many human pendulums and investigations themselves? Oh, thanks, Ingrid. Great curry. So, and I just can't put my finger on what it was that ties the two together, but it was quite interesting that both groups got that same thing come through. I wish I could remember what that was so I can share it with you all.
I'm trying to think. I can't remember.
Do you know what?
I don't know.
I can't remember. It's a certain spirit that came through, wasn't it? Because, I mean, the history of the building as well, because it was, I don't know if you're going to ask me this question already, if I'm answering it too soon.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, so the history of the building, it was an old farmhouse in the Peak District, and across from the farmhouse was an old mill. So obviously there was a lot of activity there from workers. So residual energy there would have been quite great. So it was built in 1730. So a man looking for his cat, said Natalie. Thank you. That's exactly what it was. So a man looking for his cat came from both. Excellent. So Natalie's in the chat room there. Thanks, Natalie. So it was built in 1730 as an old farmhouse. And everyone remembers now. They're all coming through the chat room saying a male came through on the pendulum and missed his cat. That was exactly it. Thanks, guys. See, they don't let you down, do they? And so 1730. So when we looked at the location, we obviously asked those questions, if you've got any spiritual ghosts or spirits that you're aware of. And speaking to Colin and Kelly, who hide it out to us, fantastic people. And they didn't really know too much because it's not really an interest of theirs, the paranormal. So, obviously they just hire the building out. But they were adamant that the cleaners who go in have reported a few strange occurrences there. But I didn't obviously get time to chat to the cleaners or the opportunity. So I couldn't really get any full story on that. So I just marked it as, that it's supposedly haunted. So it's up to us guys now to be the first in there to investigate and to find out if there are any spirits in the building, which I think quite a few people actually had a few situations, going to say, or occurrences on the first night. Is that right?
Yeah, I did.
Yourself included, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's in the chat room now. Almost all the guests hello, everyone. Thank you for coming through to us. And, it was such a great weekend. So I'm really pleased to see everyone in the chat room. So quite a few people had occurrences. From yourself, Sam, you had one. And even from when we first started, Anita, bless us, who was one of our team members, she was upstairs unpacking a suitcase, and she heard some footsteps coming up the stairs. No, we were on the second floor, ground floor, first floor, second floor. And she asked me if I came upstairs, and I was like, no, I didn't do. So she definitely heard footsteps, and her door was knocked as well. Then obviously Ingrid and Nigel, they at 3:43, they smelt a bonfire coming through. Now, the interesting thing is, Ben and myself, because I don't want to say we're hard workers, but once we sent everyone to bed, we didn't send them to bed, but you know what I mean. Once everyone went to bed on Friday, Ben and myself, we ran back home to do some more admin because we're constantly doing, admin work for the other events that we're doing. So we didn't get back to the building until 4 a.m. So we were out quite late, And so we've got Ingrid and Nigel, who they woke up to the smell of a bonfire, at 3:43, which is literally, only 15 minutes before Ben and myself came in, but we can't say we smelled anything at that time. So that's really strange. It was strong enough to wake them up, I believe.
And it kind of got me a bit thinking a bit though, Chris, obviously, because I looked at a bit of the research earlier about the mill in itself. It kind of makes, did they smell the fire? Because the mill was caught on fire, didn't it?
I hear so, yeah. There was a big fire.
So maybe it was that, a bit of the residuals, if you can actually get residual.
Of course you can, yeah. So. I believe you can get residual smells, 100%. A good case of how it all started for me. When I was very young, I was living at in a home, obviously, with my parents. And the only person who smoked in the whole family was my dad. And he used to work very, very early in the morning. Stuff. So, you know, sometimes he used to work away quite a lot. He was doing scene once a week because he used to, you know, work away as on a builder or on the railways. So he always used to operate in digs or hotels, as they call them. And so yeah, most mornings, my mum, myself, and my brother and sister, we always used to smell tobacco smoke coming from downstairs. Quite often, you know. So we used to go downstairs, investigate, and there was never anyone there. No reason why we should smell this really strong smoke. So, I mean, through research from my mum, it turned out to be a gentleman called Mr. Hall. He used to smoke a pipe, and he was the resident. He was in the building before we moved in. You know, so, and he actually passed away in the house as well. So, from a very early age, I've always understood, you know, the residual smells of smoke and all kinds of things coming through, which I will contribute to spirit. You know, being of the belief status I am. Yeah, I really believe that. But what did you get, Sam? You had if you don't mind saying.
No, it's fine. Obviously, obviously the guests knew, but anybody who's listening, we were the only bedroom which had meat hooks in.
You did. So you were in a room that had the original meat hooks hanging above your head. So this shows the age, and you know, it was a farmhouse as well. So you can only imagine what was hung from those hooks.
Yeah, it was very high though, so it's, yeah.
Oh, that tells you that it was a long animal that may have been hung. It's quite sturdy. But what did you get?
Well, like I see spirits and, you know, and everything, that a lot of people know this, but I kept waking up and I kept hearing I heard bangs in the room, and then I kept waking up on a few other occasions and seeing a male stood in the room. And then I can't think what time it was because I didn't check my phone because it kind of creeped me out a little bit. But outside his bedroom window, I heard a female saying, "Come on." And I know every single female was asleep at that time.
Of course, yeah. And the way you say that, "come on," it's kind of what you'd say to a dog, isn't it? Like in that kind of tone of voice. But we just have to make it quite clear that the property we hired had no neighbours. It's in the bottom of the Dane Valley in the Peak District. And, you know, there was no housings around. There'll be nobody there to, like, shout, "come on," to their dog. You know, that's really strange. So, especially at that hour.
And obviously we kept having his bedroom door open because we made sure that we shut it fully when we went to bed. And the few occasions we woke up and his bedroom door was open. And a few occasions we just nipped to his room, shut the door behind us, and then went back a few hours later and his door was open again.
100%, yeah. Do you know, next year, because we are going back, so we're back on the Friday the 13th of March. So yeah, Friday the 13th. So I'm pretty much going to insist that we do a full investigation as best as we can within the property, because there's something regrettably we didn't do, isn't it?
Yeah.
We did the seancing, but we didn't do the full. But that is so happening in 2020. It is happening. Maybe on the Sunday. So yeah, that's what to look forward to.
Right, yeah. Obviously, you were sat in when we did the human pendulum, and obviously I was picking up a few things when we were doing human pendulum because I was in front of the guest, and I kept seeing someone stood at the back of the room, like obviously you know because I discussed this with you all, where your poster was, and it was just, like weird because I was just. Yeah. I was paying attention to whoever was in the centre, and then something caught my eye. So I was looking, and it was just like a black figure. I didn't see any facial features or anything like that. And then something caught my eye behind me, and I saw I'd say the size of a kid as well by the doors as you go up the stairs.
Well, it's interesting. Just to touch back again onto the human pendulum that we're doing, one of the questions we're asking, because as you know with spirit, you can't always guarantee you're going to get a response just because you're asking for it right away. There's quite often a delay, isn't there? So my experience is when, if you ask for taps or whistles, and then you can sometimes forget that you asked and moved on, and then you suddenly get that come back to you. So certainly my experience. So one thing we were asking for when we did the human conjuring was if any spirit would like to introduce themselves to us in our sleep. Because, you can get relatives that come through during the sleep, the dream phase and such. So that was interesting that we asked for activity at night time, which is what everyone reported to us as well the next morning. But no one mentioned anything about activity-wise for Saturday night or Sunday night, did they? It was just the Friday night.
Yeah.
Just the Friday, and it just happens to be the night that I was asking for activity to be shown to us. So I don't know if that's anything, but, it's worth a mention, I think. Definitely.
And it's kind of like you don't know if obviously the place is haunted. You don't know because surely we don't know how many paranormal teams actually stay in that location.
Well, I can tell you that answer, none at all, because we were the first ones that they're aware of. So, we're the first people to do anything of that kind. So the people who generally go there, are people who are celebrating big birthdays, like 60s and such, with big families and just groups of walkers, walking societies, because it's a 7-bedroom property in the middle of the Peak District. It's near some of the most fantastic scenery in the UK. So a lot of people go there for that reason. But,
So to me, it's kind of like maybe the spirits were a bit like with us, like, oh, you can see us, you can hear us, right? Let's,
do you know what? I think it's pretty spot on. Yeah, I mean, when we walked in, I walked around introducing myself to the spirits before the guests arrived, and explained to the spirits exactly what we're there for. And we're not witches, which is sometimes you can be called, from spirits from that era. So I just explained why we're here and that we mean no harm. We're not here to judge or, as you do. So as a matter of respect to the spirits of that building, should they have been there, I thought that was something I like to do quite often, to be honest. Just it's just common courtesy, isn't it? I've just entered your home and, you haven't given me your permission. So I'm just letting you know why it is we're here and why we're going to be doing the things that we're doing.
Yeah. So, would you like to tell people, if they're listening and obviously they didn't go there, what workshops did we do?
Right, okay, so obviously we did the Victorian Seance, didn't we, first of all on the Friday, which we talked through all the history of it and such. Then we went on to Saturday, so we did a workshop which was working with spirit. And so, I mean, Carl, who was with us as well, he's very much into his technical gadgets, isn't he, which, is something that he's very passionate about. Whereas with myself, I've been introduced to the spirit world through a psychic kind of spiritual kind of the doorway. So what we did a workshop working with crystal pendulums. So the lovely Janine, who everyone's putting in the commenting here, love the crystals. Yes, so lovely Janine, who is a naturally gifted psychic, and how I met Janine was she used to tour around the pubs, reading cards for people and doing all the crystal work. So obviously she's now with us, and she ran a workshop showing, I guess, how to use a crystal pendulum to communicate with themselves and also to the environment as well. So that went down really well, I think. I think everyone enjoyed that. No one was looking at the ceiling or sighing or watching the clock or anything. So, that went really, really well. So, yeah. So, and we, what else did we do? Yeah, so that was that for that first workshop, wasn't it? Just working with spirits. Yeah. So we talked about, some of the old techniques as well. We also talked about a bit of the history of the Ouija board. Some from back in the old days right up to modern day, where you can get the pink versions from Toys R Us. So, it was a really good workshop, sorry. Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. I like my crystals and everything, so.
Yeah, I like the crystal side of things as well. So all the energies, that they give and how they work. And everyone had 1,100,000 questions for us when we were doing it. So, it was a real privilege to talk about something we're very passionate about as well. So that was really good.
Mm-hmm. Amber, just to let you know, I'll talk a little bit about art crystals in a moment, because obviously I've seen that you lost one of your crystals. Well, we'll have that conversation when we go to Ford Green Hall, because I've got an interesting conversation about my crystal.
Are you going to Ford Green Hall again?
No, because Amber's...
Oh, I was with you.
Yeah. Catch up on the chat room.
It's just we've done Ford Green Hall 3 times. Well, we'll have done 3 times this.
I want to go back in the day because I've got a few things to ask the owners. So.
Oh, fab! Yeah. So go see Chris and Pam. They'll look after you.
Yeah.
Okay. Next. Excuse me.
So we may as well just move on to Ford Green Hall.
Bit. So, I mean, skipping Lud's Church straight to Ford Green Hall. So, so we, on the Saturday, after a full day of activities, we all jumped in our cars, didn't we? And we went to Ford Green Hall. So we were there for 7:30. And the ghost hunt was only really a mini ghost hunt. It went through till 12 a.m., which for some that was late enough, and for others they wanted a bit more. But true to fashion with myself, I left you guys in capable hands with some of my team members, and I headed back to do some more admin, didn't I?
Yeah. Always
buried in the emails, I am. So yes, you'd have to tell me, obviously, what you got at Ford Green Hall. But I heard a little bit of it, and it was quite a bit.
Yeah, obviously Ingrid got affected, I got affected, Nigel got affected. I don't know if any of the other guests got affected as far as I'm aware. I believe Kelsey did a little bit as well. I'm trying to remember what happened to Ingrid. Ingrid, just drop it in the chat room and I'll tell everybody. And I only spoke to Ingrid the other day as well on the phone.
Well, if that's just she wants to talk about it, obviously.
Yeah.
Everyone knows with the paranormal, it's always a personal experience. So, that's why I don't want to talk about it too much, because it's up to that individual to what they got. But yeah, Ford Green Hall, just for a bit of reference, really. See, built in 1624, so it's 395 years old. Now that is an old building, isn't it? There's not too many buildings like that that's particularly in Stoke-on-Trent that we can get access to. So it's always a privilege to get into there. So yeah, it's one of those Stuart timber frame buildings. It gives you that spooky look as well, doesn't it? It's a fantastic building. Like I say, we do that quite a lot. I think we do it 24 times a year, actually. And each time, it's not always going to be active. Sometimes it's quite quiet. But I'd say about 70% of the time, there's always something to report. Now, I was interested to hear about a spirit that came through, which is a spirit that comes through or has come through before.
Mm-hmm. George?
Yeah.
Yeah, the kid. But is it a kid?
That's the topic of conversation, isn't it? Because some people felt it's a spirit showing himself as a child that doesn't mean any harm, really, doesn't it? Or means ill harm, should I say? But I need to investigate that a little bit more.
Yeah. I really love going to Ford Green Hall because, like I said to you guys, I've been waiting ages to do Ford Green Hall.
It's on your doorstep, Sam, as well.
I know. But then I don't think I just got the chance to do it until obviously that weekend. And now I'm like, I want to go back.
Oh, you know where we are. We do have exclusive rights to Fort Green Hall, not because we're one of those teams that, badgers venues to offer it to us. They just got messed around quite a lot by some other teams and they got fed up with it. So, it was a case of they were going to cut out the paranormal altogether, which a lot of venues are doing, which is really sad. But, we use them quite a lot. As I said, 24 times a year. And because we've always, paid on time, always treated the venue with greatest of respect, they've obviously kept it open for us. So we now get it as exclusive for that purpose, really. And I think on the sad day, obviously, then when we fold and we decide we don't want to continue anymore, I don't think any other paranormal teams will be able to get in. It's just sad. But we're not planning on quitting for a while yet.
So, like, I know you have a few mediums on the team, Chris. So, is anyone, if any of your mediums actually spoke to you and picked up a child, or don't they really speak to you about that stuff?
Well, regarding the mediums on the team, none of them will ever describe themselves as a medium. They will describe themselves as psychic or sensitive. Because we kind of got a feeling for mediums where, you know, it's just my personal opinion, really. Once you become a medium, you open yourself up to attention. So if I was to say to someone, I'm a medium, that would automatically generate a load of questions and people coming to me and pecking my head and badgering me and asking for a reading of this, and there's this person come. Do you know what I mean? And also, I believe you only really talk about mediumship as being a medium if you're in it for money as well. So, you know, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So if you're trying to sell your services, you would use the title as a medium. Whereas our guys, you know, they're volunteers, they do it for free. They don't want to advertise themselves as mediums because they just want to, if anything comes through, they would just want to mention it or pull someone aside and say, this person's coming through for you or whatever. But they don't want to give themselves that tags. So sorry, just on the medium question. Paula, who is a medium,
sensitive, just to say sensitive.
On the night, you got me to fall into the trap there, yeah. So it was a sensitive on the night. And like you say, Paula's really good. She picks up on quite a lot. And she does give the odd reading or two if a spirit's there who wants to communicate with somebody. So, but as I said, I wasn't there on the night, so I can't really say what happened or what took place because I'm kind of the wrong person. Because, like I say, I'm a very dull boy. I was doing admin, emails, writing letters, booking venues at home. So, yeah, were you in Paula's group? Did you pick up anything? Or...
I was with Neil and Phil.
Oh, of course you were, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll go into that. Like I said before,
well, that's what I'm saying, because Ingrid's in the chat room now, and I know that Ingrid had quite a bad experience, for herself. She got a bit of a spiritual attack, didn't you, Ingrid? Lovely. Where you were made to feel quite ill. And I think Nigel was actually physically sick as well, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. And Paula was there, obviously, to offer support and to help them recover from that. So, that was the benefit, obviously, for having a sensitive on the team.
Everyone's just like, Sam say this, Sam say that. Yes, I know, guys.
It was such an active weekend, Yeah. It was such fun-filled. So everyone's just, Ingrid said he threw up. He did. And Paula did warn him, because I was there for the beginning, to say that, when you're working with spirit can attack, can work with you in certain ways. It can portray its feelings and emotions over to you, and it can also affect you in certain ways if you're not properly grounded. So it looks like that's what happened to Nigel as he threw up. Poor Nigel.
But yeah, we had, as you can probably see in the chat room, our group, because I was with Emma, Phil, Neil, Amber, and and we had a good
Elsie as well.
Nat and Carl.
Oh yeah, and Carl.
Always forget a few. We had really good table tipping, and one thing that I found really interesting is, because obviously I've done table tipping, God, can't even remember how much I've done table tipping.
Oh, you and me both, love. You and me both.
But what I found interesting was when, I think it was Philip, he was like, we'll do table tipping with two tables, so one table on top of the other.
Yes, I've told Phil about that with my health and safety. I was like, stop doing it, Phil. If that falls on the furniture or on a guest. So Phil's not going to do that anymore, are you, Phil? Reprimanding people online. I'm joking. Yeah, so it works apparently, doing that technique. It gives really good results. But I have kittens when I see them do it. But how was it? It worked well?
Oh. But yeah, because I think it was good, and obviously, yeah, because I've never seen that way before. But to me, it's kind of like, well, surely if a spirit is tall enough to push one bottom table, they're tall enough to push a higher table.
Yeah, like I say, everyone's raving about it, saying it's so good, but I've not seen it yet, so I've not, as an event company manager, I've not risk assessed it. So
you'll have to do it next time you're there.
Like, don't do it until I'm risk assessed.
they were very good at catching it, so it didn't make any damage. So
no, I know it hasn't, but as a sensible boss, and, yeah.
So I have to tell you guys this. Everyone can have their own opinion on this. We tried to debunk it, but obviously you've obviously been to Full Green Hall, Chris, haven't you? So
myself, oh, yes.
Just so I know so you know I'm talking about which room in the black. Oh yeah, I know that room.
Yeah, so, I've been to Full Green Hall. So when you can't even count.
Yeah.
That many times. Yeah, that many times. So, like I say, we do it 24 times a year. So I've done it a fair few times.
Yeah. So obviously, is it called the master bedroom? The main bedroom
at the top. Yeah.
We were obviously in there for the first session, and as soon as I walked in, that room is shut off from the public with the red rope in the doorway. I saw
in the bed. Yeah.
I saw an arm move out of the shadows.
Yeah, that's quite common in that room to see shadow movements. That's interesting.
Yeah, and obviously we did the table tipping, and then we did glass. What's it called?
Glass divination.
Yeah, I was going to say glass moving. I suppose it's the same thing, isn't it?
It is. But when we do our glass divination, we kind of put a couple of things in there. So we have like the battery operated candle underneath, so you don't have to use torches and stuff. So we put that candle underneath just so you can see better. We also put a marble in there as well. Did you notice?
Yeah.
And do you know why we do that?
Is it so you can hear it? I don't know.
But yeah, it's for several two reasons. So one is you can hear it shaking against the glass, and sometimes you can get the marble actually doing things instead of the glass. So we've had an instance before where the marble just constantly spins around the outside of the glass. You know, the tables. Mm-hmm. You're not rocking the table in a circular motion, so there's no reason why that marble just keeps spinning. So, yeah, we use that marble because it's that extra little thing for spirit to play with or to work with. So we enjoy doing that. So good. It's good effect.
Yeah. But, we were obviously doing the glass definition, and obviously it was like the pressure on the glass changed and the atmosphere in the room changed because obviously we were communicating with apparently George to begin with.
Yeah. Did anyone witness a cat? I only ask because he's quite common.
I think Kelsey saw a cat, but I saw 2 dogs.
Did you?
Yeah, in the kitchen, but we'll go on to that if we got it in a minute. But yeah, we were obviously doing the glass and it was like the pressure changed on the glass, like full blown dead strong pressure, and the room in the atmosphere in the room changed, and I was like, yeah, this ain't George anymore. And we were like asking questions, and the glass was moving really like strongly and forcefully, but still keeping a dead strong pressure onto this glass. It
is. It's such a great location. I mean, we chose it not only because it's quite close to where we were going, but just because it has great activity, and it's an old building with a lot of history to it. And I actually went on to Penny's show, Haunted Histories. I think it was couple of months ago when we were discussing Fort Green Hall as well. So, it's definitely one of those venues that's not on the main trail, and but I think it should be, because it's a fantastic place. I know Carl got something quite interesting, didn't he? Because Carl was using his parabolic microphone, I heard, and he had was it 8 babies crying come through?
Yeah, and he heard baby. I'm sure that's what he heard on his mic, and I know, because obviously that it's known the stairs are very active as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And I'm just reading the comments as well, where Anita's saying the REM pods were going off on the stairs. Yeah. So we know we've done many base readings at Fort Green, so we know where all the power points are, and where all the wires are, and where we can't use REM pods or we can't use K2s because we've got false readings. So Anita saying the REM pod's going off on the stairs. So we had 2 REM pods. So that is really interesting. So the motion lights as well were activated. So Anita has motion lights that, little floor standing. And we always, so that's interesting. Sorry, Gemma, hiya. So Gemma Drury, how do we get to visit Chris? So we have been offered exclusivity of the venue, just due to the fact that they've been messed around so much, and they've got trust in us, so they've just offered it to us. If it wasn't us going in, then nobody would get in pretty much, because they were closing it down to the paranormal. So we've got, I think I've got 20 odd dates still available. It's £29, so it's one of our budget events, and it's on our website, which I'll plug later, I'm sure I can. But it'd be great to see you there, Gemma.
Yeah. So continuing on, was like I say, the pressure changed in the glass, and I kept I got imagery in the actual location we were staying at, but I started getting imagery in my mind again, of a female. So obviously we were asking on the glass.
Yeah.
Because we were talking, because there's a spirit. Because from what we gathered, there's a spirit there, and he will not mention his name to anyone.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And we got the name Bill. We're not saying, we don't know if his name was Bill or he was just messing us about.
It's funny you say that. You won't give names because, as I've mentioned, I've been there so many times, but I don't have any names for any spirits other than that George, that energy called George we call.
But yeah, it was weird because it's I picked up on the name Bill, so I asked. Yeah. And then I got imagery of we believe it was his wife, and his wife was I got images of his wife, so I described his wife.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, that's really interesting because, with regard to the property, its history, so it was the home for the Ford family, Hugh Ford, for 200 years before it got broken up into 3 and then 4 separate properties. So, there was up to 4 families living within the building. So it has a long history of, joy, torment, sorrow, happiness. The residual energies are really strong in the building. And so I'm not surprised that you got quite a bit there. And you always do. If you can hear purring, I'm being bothered by a kitten, by the way.
But yeah, Phil, it was Georgie's father, apparently.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it was just weird because I'm normally quiet, aren't I, if I pick things up.
Yeah.
But this, it was just crazy. But then this is the interesting part. Bear in mind, I did have a bag on me.
Yeah.
But my bag was really light. And we were talking to this apparent Bill. I'm going to say apparent because his name might not be Bill. And it got I started feeling this pressure on the back of my neck. Not like a rope being put around my neck, but like a hand trying to strangle my back of my neck. And, I let it get on for a bit because I remember Phil right, back off. And I was like, no, I'm fine. Because at the time it was okay, it was only minor. And then I can't think what we were asking. And this pressure just kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
so I was like, right, back off. But no, he wouldn't back off. And then it was like at some point, myself and Phil told him to back off. And the table literally, it didn't fly as such, but it tipped. Yeah, it tipped with some force. And I mean, it tipped with some force when we were just like, me and Phil were like really staying like, right, get away.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, there's 12 people there in total, as in, you guests, and then there was 14 as well. And, Nita is there as well, so that's, 13 guests. And it's just interesting that every single one of you got something to report back, didn't you?
Yeah.
Nobody had a quiet night. Nobody left there saying that place is not haunted. They're not saying it was or isn't, but everyone had an experience there, this is why I love Green Hall. That's a mate's messing around, if you can hear him in the background.
But yeah, it's like, it was weird because I remember saying Nat told me bag, so you can see, and it was really light, so I was like, it wasn't the weight of me bag. Yeah, it
wasn't. And
it was like, I just had to, you've seen me affected before and how I go.
Oh, yes.
And it was like, we were all sat where the cafe is, and I was like, I need to get out. And I had to literally leave the location, like just through the gates. And then as soon as I went through the gates, that feeling was gone.
Well, that's it about Full Green Horse. Step out of the energy and it disappears. It always has there, always has.
Yes, Phil, I know. They're like, don't forget this, don't forget that. I know, Phil. So,
just to touch on Kelsey's comments. So Kelsey's absolutely bob on, as I say. So just to read that, it was the energy we brought together as a group helps how the event performs. 110%, that is correct. So we've all, anyone who's been on a public event, let's say, you can get certain people who are not really that interested. I call them the bag holders. They've been brought along because Doris wants to come, so Mick's brought her because he drives. And so Mick, for example, of just a random name, if he's just there, negative attitude, doesn't really want to join in, doesn't believe, it's Mick that can just destroy the whole event. He can make all the spirits think, why should I'm not even going to entertain that group. The energy is negative, and they pick up on that, So just to touch on Kelsey as well, because when we do investigating, I always think body language is very important as well. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah.
So often when you're working in a customer service kind of role, you concentrate and you make sure you've got very open body language, don't you? You know what I mean? Yeah. So when you're talking to people, you have friendly, welcoming body language. So sometimes these people, they can have their arms folded across the front, they could be slouching and pulling their faces. And if you're considering spirit is the same as we are now, humans, we react to the same things, we have the same emotions and thoughts. So if someone's calling out to us and their body language is like that, as a spirit, I wouldn't be, I'd be threatened. I wouldn't want to approach someone like that. So as Kelsey says, the energy in that group they were all friends. So it was the second night of all knowing each other. And it was just an electric energy between the whole group. So I think that really did help.
Yeah, and we all wanted to get involved as well, didn't we? We just didn't sit at the side and like, no, we don't want to do that. So
exactly, yeah. And I don't know if, anyone who's been on events will know, before we even start investigating, we try to break that down a little bit, that break down the inhibitions. So we will always get our guests to introduce themselves to each other, where they've been before, what they've done before, what the belief status is, because we think that when you're on an event, sometimes you can be a little bit shy or have some inhibitions. So getting to know who you're working with as a group, I think is invaluable, because, you're not being judged. You kind of work out that everyone's there for the same reasons as you. Mm-hmm. And that really helps to melt away the anxieties. So we always do that before we start any visual investigation, just get to know who we're working with. Because, And we find that actually raises the energies and raises the activity as well.
Yeah.
Which is why we're all there for. You know?
Yeah. So, moving on to the other bit of location in Ford Green Hall, which we investigated, which was the kitchen area.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm interested to hear what you say about the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because I know about that.
Yeah. So, and I believe they did it with Paula's, but I don't know if you do it with every guest, but you have us walk through just the kitchen with his torch on, one by one, with the door shut, to see how it feels.
You did the psychic experiment that they do in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And how did you feel?
Well, me and Nat did it because it was just weird. Like, to me, there was different energies to different. So the main kitchen, that was weird. Like, I mean, weird.
Yeah.
Then the little corridor bit, that was weird.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, but then the school room, what they call the school room, whatever, that I didn't feel anything in there.
That's correct, that is, yeah, 100%. So when we do this often, the kitchen has a kind of get out of my space kind of feel to it. You feel like you're not welcome. As you move down the corridor, we often get people feeling dizzy and sick.
Yeah.
And then as you move into the exhibition room, which has a very different feel. It feels very sterile as you walk into that room.
Yeah.
You know, so you just described it exactly what happens. Because, like I say, we do these events quite often, and we do this, clear your mind, step into the space, and just describe what you pick up. So we get to everyone through one at a time, and then we get as a group and we have a discussion. So no speaking until everyone's done it. And it's a common occurrence for everyone to describe those feelings exactly as you just mentioned. So, again, I've not spoken to you about this before, so it's really interesting.
No. Gemma, what I mean by weird is what Chris said. It was like, to me, if we were in there and there was more than two, that was when they were like, right, you can't be in here.
Yeah.
But when one of us were in that kitchen area, I was okay.
And that's it with the kitchen area as well. I don't think it's a negative energy.
No.
It's a busy energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that? It's kind of like, I'm busy, I'm running around, I've got lots to do, and you're under my feet.
Yeah.
Move on down that. Move on out of the kitchen. Move on out. So that's how I describe the energy that people often get in there, which is, and like I say, we don't say to people, you know, go in there and listen out for this, or, you know, try to see if you sense this. We tell them just to empty the mind, you know, empty vessel, as we say, enter the space, walk through, and then we'll have a discussion of what you picked up on. And it's really interesting how the same thing comes through.
And I picked up, like, because me and Nat stayed in that room, both obviously that long bit, and I picked up on where the hanging was as well, straight away.
Okay, yeah.
Which was it's in that little corridor and in the alcove that the hanging took place. But like what me and Nat did, because we moved the chairs to where the mannequin was, so we could look fully down that corridor.
Yeah. Oh, the farmer's wife mannequin.
Yeah. And no, it's that thingy one in there now. There's only one in there. Whatever it is, we were trying to figure out what he was. The mannequin, but yeah, obviously, because we thought, well, we'll you know what we're like. We need to look. So we were like, right, let's just look down this corridor, because that's obviously where the most energy was in that kitchen, which we felt. And at first, I kept seeing a shadow figure pop in and out where the ducks are hanging up.
Yes, or the ducks and the chickens and the rabbits.
Yeah. I kept seeing a figure pop in and out in there. And then I saw like an animal figure, because I picked two dogs up in that kitchen. I don't know if two go in there or if there's just one dog on the location, but I didn't pick up on a cat at all. But it was
Well, it's interesting because why I mentioned the cat, and I mean, Chris, and not so much Pam, but Chris, he's actually a skeptic, but he has so much going on with him in that building. Because they have school trips there, you know, they have a display of spinning wheels in the building as well, because it takes it back to its past, you know, with what it was as an industry of an old yeoman's cottage with the wool making as well as dairy farming. And so they've had a spinning wheel just do a full 360 turn and then return back again. Now, they've done the test. That was happening in front of all the students as well, as they were talking about the spinning wheel. So they've done the test where they jump down on the floorboards, you know, around the spinning wheel, if that affected it or anything, or check for drafts. But they cannot find any reason why that did that. And they're often hearing creaks and bangs and footsteps above them, usually 5 minutes before we come through the door for the investigation. So I don't know if there's a bad sign, the spirit's running off from us, I don't know. But and so they get quite a lot of that. Now, on to the spirit of the cat. So quite often a cat is seen as a real cat, not a spirit, as a real cat running around the building. So it runs into rooms. Now, you know the rooms, there's only one way in and one way out. So as it runs into these bedrooms and parlours upstairs, you know, they can't find it. They don't know where it is. And on one occasion, some of our guests of ours have actually seen a cat as well running into one of the bedrooms. And on investigation, nowhere to be seen. So and cats and dogs are quite often picked up. It's definitely a pet shop in there.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't normally pick up on animals, really, but it was like, obviously it was just like not weird, but because I was sick, because me and Nat were looking at a lot of things when we saw things to see if, because obviously there's a lot of, you know, we know there's a lot of exhibit, if you want to call them, bits in there, so it's kind of...
That's it. I mean, because of the age of the property, 1624, you've got, you know, nods to the plague, which was, you know, part of it. Great Fire of London, there's nods to that as well, you know, and all the kings that were there, so during that period. So there's a lot of nods to it.
Because obviously, like, me and Nat kind of split up, but we were in the same area, and because I was like, right, because Nat went into the exhibition room and I stayed in the kitchen because that's where I was mostly getting things picked up, and I kept seeing like this little kid figure next to the big cabinet you've got, but the cabinet on the back wall where the window is.
Which room are we talking?
The kitchen.
Okay, yeah, I know you are.
So to me, I don't know if that kitchen's been made smaller, because that's what I was thinking, because there's like, you've got the fireplace. Yeah. Yeah, and then you've got like the two little alcoves, as you call them, haven't you? And then one side's got all pots and pans inside it.
Yeah.
And then the other's bare apart from the cabinet.
Well, this is it. I mean, the house did have some changes because, as I said, for 200 years it was a family home. Then it got divided into 4 separate cottages, you know, like a terrace. So there would have been changes. I mean, the fireplace that you saw, you know, where you did your welcome, your introduction with the team, there's a fireplace on the wall. And that fireplace came from Alton Towers. And that was installed in 1950 when it was as a museum, you see. So a lot of the fixtures and fittings in there have come from other buildings. There's not much other than a few wooden panels on the walls. There's a lot of it that's not original, particularly the furniture as well. You know, it all comes from different places. Yeah. So with regard to the activity that you get in there, with all this different stuff coming through from different locations and different buildings, it's often as well. I don't know if anyone smelt like the smell of burning or smoke. That has come through quite strongly.
I smelt like, at one point I smelt like a sweetie smell, like they were cooking like something sweet.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the sweet smell, but I know that people get the burning smell, like a burning building smell, because some of the wood panels came from a building that actually burnt down, so they were rescued from it, which is interesting. But if you believe in the fact that, you know, residual energies and stuff all comes through with the buildings and the furniture, and spirits move in with the furniture, you know, so that could add a lot of depth to the building as well with regard to the spiritual and residual energies.
Because like I said, in that in them, like say in them alcoves, I just kept getting this figure of a kid hiding.
Yeah.
You know how kids can go running in kitchens and hiding because they don't want to be seen.
Shy.
Yeah. And then I saw I don't know if it was a male, female, or child. Then I saw a figure sit at the table because obviously they've got that picnic bench in there, haven't they, in the kitchen?
Yeah. So I've seen the kitchen, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously I saw a dog under the table, but the weird thing about this dog is obviously I joined Natalie in the exhibition room, and I kept walking through and I kept jumping, like Nat'll tell you, because I just saw someone stood right at the left of you. But the funny thing is about this dog is we walked back through, I don't know what we were doing. I think it was when we were doing the Facebook Live, or Nat was filming or something.
Yeah, Nat Live, that's right, yeah.
And I just saw this golden retriever type dog, and it was so weird to me. I know it's hard to explain because I'm saying it's so weird, but I've seen, snippets of animals obviously in your home, if they've but it was just obviously so to see something like that, and I was like, oh. And obviously that's when I had to get my torch out to make sure that it was nothing what looked like a dog.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things in there that just loom out of the darkness, in there. So you do need to torch occasionally just to make sure it is in the land of the living and not in the spiritual.
We've got a funny story for everyone about that in a minute.
So Fort Green Hall was a success, wasn't it? It was a great addition to the whole weekend. So it was a great addition to the ghost side of things, I thought.
Yeah. But just a quick one. Chris, because we told you if you check the CCTV. Basically, me and Nat were stood in the kitchen area, and we kept seeing this shadow on the wall, like a full person shadow. We laughed after a while because obviously good old Neil debunked it, because there was this guy at the car in the car park.
Yeah.
So we thought, oh my God, it was a ghost. So that, there was a few swear words from me, and Carl said to you, Chris, he just run so fast, because we thought it was a ghost, and then.
Well, it wasn't.
Good old Neil debunked it as a person, obviously in the car park, and how the lights were doing this shadow, it kind of gave it a bit of delay, so...
It did, yeah. Tell you what, stalkers, eh? All right. So Fort Green Hall was great, wasn't it? But did you make the trip to Lud's Church with us as well?
Yeah, I did.
You got muddy? Oh, yeah, you got muddy, didn't you?
I nearly lost my shit.
And how did you enjoy that little adventure?
Oh, no, I loved it. I loved it because I do like walks like that.
I do, yeah. I mean, that was obviously a touch on our legends and myths side of things as well, wasn't it? Because going back to old King Arthur, Amber's like your shoe. So yeah, a few of us who were, because it was raining, wasn't it, on the Saturday when we were going to go out to Lud's Church. Those who don't know what Lud's Church is, it is a natural crevice carved into the rock. It's 100 meters, I think it is, 100 meters, 100 feet long. It's said to have been carved by the devil's fingernail. So in the Peak District, it's literally it's like the parting of the Red Sea, isn't it, as you walk through? It's just a flat level with towering cliffs each side of it, and they're all green because of all the moss and all the trees hanging over the top. It's just a magical place. So it's an old pagan worship, and the story says apparently that there used to be pagan worshippers there, and they were actually caught doing, worshipping pagan gods and, the mother gods and stuff, which wasn't allowed then because we'd been overtaken by the Christians, the Romans and such. So they slaughtered all these pagans within that church. And, and apparently there's a spiritual young girl that still haunts that area. Now, we would have loved to have gone there at night time with a bit of kit and stuff, but you can agree why we didn't. It was very dangerous in the daytime, wasn't it, to get in, and slippery and wet. So at night time it would have been horrendous. But shame. Hopefully, when we go again in March next year, we might have some dry weather. Fingers crossed, so we can actually do some investigating there as well. So yeah, the myths and legend side of it obviously was the fact that King Arthur and one of his knights went on an adventure, which ended up in the Green Chapel, as they call it, which was Lud's Church. So that's so it gets its name Lud's Church from the pagan side of it, and the Green Chapel's name is from the Sir Gawain and the Green Knight poem, if anyone's heard of that. So it was a nice little trip. Now, do you remember the old house as well, the old cottage, the old inn? Do you remember the story about that? Yeah.
You're going to put me on the spot now, aren't you?
I'm going to let you put on the spot, yeah.
Basically, it was it a couple? Or something. Anyway, basically it's said to be based on the story of Sweeney Todd. Obviously,
the Sweeney Todd story is based on that. It's much older than the Sweeney Todd,
And because there was this pie shop. I say that as Sweeney Todd now, but
Do you remember the story?
No, not really.
Oh, here we go then. So there's these old ruins of this cottage, and the story goes where peddlers used to walk in between the market towns of Leek and Buxton. They called into here for obviously a bed for the night, and if they were particularly wealthy, the landlady and such, they would disappear, let's say. And but also the landlady and the landlord had a pie shop or pie stall at Leek Market. So, and they used to sell the best meat pies ever, but they had no animals, they had no farmland, but they had an abundance of meat, and peddlers went missing. So, people put two and two together. Now, how true that story is, I don't know. It's quite a local story. It's quite well known, but it's interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
There's always never smoke without fire, I like to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got to visit there. That was interesting as well, and that's on the way.
Yeah. Anyway, Chris, that is it.
It's gone over.
We went over a little bit.
By 12 minutes.
It was fine. So before I let you go, can you give yourself a little plug?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So if anyone doesn't catch who I am, I'm the co-founder of Haunted Houses Ghost Hunting Events. So we run 150 ghost hunts all around the UK, and so we do some fantastic locations. And if anyone wants to check us out, we're on Facebook, Haunted Houses Ghost Hunting Events, and also if you want to check out our website to see what we do, including a new date for our Ghost Myths and Legends weekend, which is on Friday the 13th of March up until the Monday afterwards, which I think is the 16th. Is that right? Yep. No. Yep. I can't think because I'm tired. But yeah, so it's 3 nights and 4 days basically. And so if you want to check the website, is haunted-houses.co.uk.
And there we go, guys. Anything else?
That's it. All done.
So it's a good night from me.
And yes, it's a ta-ra a bit from me.
Night, guys.
Good night. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.